In the bustling city of Havenwood, a young woman named Maya lived a life that looked perfect on the outside. She had a stable job, a cozy apartment, and a circle of friends who admired her. But Maya was tired. Every decision she made revolved around pleasing others, her boss, her friends, even strangers online. She felt like a puppet, with invisible strings pulled by everyone's expectations. One day, after a particularly grueling meeting where her ideas were dismissed, Maya stumbled upon an old bookstore. There, a curious title caught her eye, The Courage to Be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi Fumitake Koga. She picked it up and started reading, unaware that her life was about to change. Unhappiness is a choice. Maya starts reading and is immediately struck by a bold claim. Unhappiness is a choice. At first, she's defensive. How could anyone think she'd choose to be unhappy? But as she dives deeper, she begins to understand. The authors explain that unhappiness isn't something that happens to you. It's a tool people often use to avoid responsibility or the fear of change. For Maya, this hits home. She's always blamed her unhappiness on external factors, her tough upbringing, her demanding job, her overbearing family. But now she's forced to ask herself, is she hiding behind these excuses? The philosopher, who is the main character in the book, shares the story of a young man who was perpetually angry. He blamed his temper on his strict parents and tough childhood. But in reality, his anger was a tool he used to manipulate others and gain power over them. The philosopher's insight? People are not driven by past causes, but move toward goals that they themselves set. This revelation pushes Maya to reconsider her own patterns. Maya realizes she's been using her past as a shield to avoid confronting her fears. If unhappiness is a choice, then happiness could be too. Suddenly, Maya saw her excuses for what they were, tools to avoid responsibility. It stung at first, but it was very liberating. The philosopher's diagram stood out to her, a triangle labeled excuse trap. At the top was unhappiness, supported by avoid responsibility and fear of change. Maya grabbed a pen and scrawled it onto a napkin, circling the center, your choice. That night, she resolved to stop blaming her past and start taking control. All problems are interpersonal. Next, Maya reads about how every problem in life boils down to interpersonal relationships. It's not the workload that stresses her out, but the fear of her boss's disapproval. It's not social events that make her anxious, but the fear of judgment from others. The book introduces the concept of the separation of tasks. Maya learns that her life tasks are hers alone, and what opinions others have about her are their tasks. By confusing the two, she's been living in constant stress. The philosopher discusses a young woman terrified of public speaking. She convinced herself she was simply bad at it. But the real issue? She was paralyzed by the fear of others' opinions. Once she separated her task, which was delivering a speech, from the task of others, which is their reactions, she found the courage to speak confidently. This resonates deeply with Maya. For the first time, Maya understands that she doesn't need to control how others perceive her. She starts focusing on doing her best and letting go of the rest. It's liberating. That evening, Maya drew two overlapping circles. One was labeled your tasks, the other others' opinions. Where they overlapped was the stress zone. She vowed to live in the your tasks circle, leaving others' opinions to them. Why seeking approval is exhausting. Maya reflects on her lifelong quest for approval. The book uses a powerful analogy. Imagine performing on a stage with 100 people in the audience. Each person has a different idea of who you should be. Trying to please them all is impossible. The philosopher shares the story of a man who spent years seeking his father's approval. Despite his many achievements, his father never praised him. The man's turning point came when he let go of this need for validation. This example gives Maya the courage to start valuing her own opinion over others. As Maya continued reading, she realized why she was always so drained. She'd spent her whole life trying to please everyone, family, colleagues, even strangers on social media. Maya thought of her own parents, who never approved of her career choice. No matter how hard she worked, they always wanted more. But the philosopher's words struck a chord. True freedom comes from realizing you don't need everyone to like you. Maya finally begins to grasp this truth. The courage to be happy. Maya then reached the chapter that changed everything. Happiness isn't something you chase, it's something you create. She's now faced with an uncomfortable question. What if happiness isn't a goal, but a byproduct of living with purpose? She's always thought happiness would come once she achieved certain milestones, a promotion, a relationship, a dream vacation. But the book challenges this notion. The philosopher discusses a musician who initially pursued fame, believing it would make him happy. But years of striving left him unfulfilled. It was only when he focused on playing music for the sheer joy of it that he found true happiness. This story inspires Maya to rediscover her own passions. Maya thought of her own dreams. She'd always wanted to write, but she'd convinced herself it wasn't practical. Inspired, she sketched a ladder with two labels. The achievement ladder, leaning against a wall labeled empty goals. The purpose ladder, leaning against fulfillment. Maya realized she'd been climbing the wrong ladder. Happiness isn't out there, it's in here. The authors explain that people often confuse achievement with happiness. They climb the ladder of success only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. Why contribution matters. Maya's final takeaway from the book is that true happiness comes from contributing to others. It's not about being the best, it's about being useful. The philosopher tells the story of a school teacher who felt inadequate because she wasn't making a big enough impact. But when she shifted her focus to small, daily contributions, helping a child read, offering encouragement, she found a deep sense of purpose. This reminds Maya that even small acts can add up to a meaningful life. The one who chooses to walk the path of contribution will always be happy. Maya remembered her neighbor, Mrs. Patel, an elderly woman who lived alone. Inspired, Maya began visiting her once a week. They shared tea and stories, and Maya realized how fulfilling it was to brighten someone else's day. By the time Maya finished the book, she felt lighter. She closed the book with a smile, its final message etched into her heart. 1. Unhappiness is a choice. Stop blaming your past and take responsibility for your future. 2. Focus on your tasks, not others' opinions. 3. Happiness is about contribution. The more you give, the more fulfilled you'll feel. Maya looked out her window at the bustling city below. For the first time, it didn't overwhelm her. She whispered to herself, I have the courage to live my life on my own terms. And so, her journey to true freedom began. Maya's story reminds us all, do we have the courage to live life on our own terms? The courage to be disliked?
We touched on a few chapters, but there's much more to know. Read the complete book to let the wisdom flow. Turn pages, chase dreams, erase every doubt. Until next time, a bookser's signing out.